Listen to Sean Hannity online or on your phone at 55krc.com, an iHeart radio station.
.706 55 KRC Talk Station. Happy Friday to you. Brian Thomas here. Glad to welcome to the 55 KRC Morning Show one of the many, and he knows it, Warren Davidson running for John Boehner's seat. We've had others on the program that are also running for the spot. Looks like you got about 16 total people moving into the primaries. Warren, welcome to the program. Good to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
And thank you for your service to our country. Let's start with your background. Tell us, tell my listeners why you're qualified to run for the United States Congress.
Well, I guess it's no doubt I meet all the criteria. I was born in Ohio, up in Sydney. Graduated from Sydney High School. I enlisted in the Army and served over in Germany when the wall came down. Went to West Point. Went back in as an Army officer. Then I came back to Ohio and been focused on growing companies. And
what business are you in, sir?
We have two stamping plants. We have one in Troy and one in Fairfield. And then we have a dye and mold business that's based in Troy.
Manufacturing.
Absolutely.
And I read in your notes that you helped develop the family business, and you grew from one shop with just 20 employees, which is not in any way, shape, or form anything to scoff at. Now you have several companies with over 200 employees in the district. That says a lot. I mean, that seems to me that says that you know something too about business.
Well, when I was getting out of the Army, a couple of people were trying to hire me, and they said, operations is the same and you'll be fine. I was concerned. I said, well, I know how to tell people how to seize airfields, but I'm not really sure what I can do for business. And it turns out a lot of the principles are very common, and most of those have been applied to grow the businesses, and thankfully it's worked. A lot of good people along the way for sure.
And I see you went to West Point and graduated in the top 10% of your class. We respect that on the 55 KRC Morning Show. Just don't hold it out as being the defining moment in your life that makes you credible on all issues. I give you Bob McDonald. Warren, you probably heard Bob McDonald's comment on that. We run that regularly. But on that note, not necessarily Bob McDonald, but I know the problems going on at the VA are one of the things that you're concerned about. It's, of course, on your webpage at davidsonforcongress.com under the heading Healthcare, the VA problem. What would you do about that? What are your proposals, Warren?
I think most everyone in the country is pretty upset about Obamacare, if not for any other reason, that Congress exempted themselves. Yeah. And I think we need to get serious about fixing that, not just with the repeal and replace. My idea is that Congress would be bound to the VA benefits, and so would their staffs, so they wouldn't be exempted from anything, and in fact, they would have the VA benefit.
VA benefits?
That's right.
That's interesting. A lot of people say they should be subject to the terms and conditions of Obamacare, but that would just allow them to go out and buy maybe a Cadillac policy, which they could all afford, unlike most of Middle America. But to subject them to, and I use that term advisedly, VA benefits, that just means they're going to stand in line with the rest of the veterans who serve their country and wait around for an appointment 6 months, a year, who knows?
Yeah, and they're going to have to try to recruit staff that would be willing to be subjected to that, too. So I think if they had that, they'd get very serious about fixing it.
That's a good point, man. I like that idea. All right, what else is near and dear to your heart in terms of what you try to do if you made it to D.C., Warren?
Well, I think security is a big one. When I was in Ranger Regiment, Kenya and Tanzania embassy bombings occurred, and since then, we've really had an eye-opening experience in 9/11. The same group, led by bin Laden, committed horrible evil on our soil, not just on our embassies and our people. And those things are very serious, as recently as Benghazi. We need to take those as serious threats to our country. And, like a lot of people, very frustrated by not seeing real change. People coming up with taglines but not taking action on say immigration, border security, the whole range of things. But on economic policy, it was really important to me to get Club for Growth's endorsement this past week. They are the leading free market advocate out there, and for them to endorse and support my candidacy and recognize, the passion I have for free markets to see growth. We're going to have to grow our way out of the problems that we've got in Washington.
And free markets also, with freedom necessarily, to me, entails the freedom to dispose of the income that I earn in the way I see fit rather than have the government tax it at a usurious rate. Where are you on taxes, Warren?
Yeah, I'm taxed enough already. I'll say that, and we, thankfully, we've paid our fair share of taxes. But I guess some people don't believe so, and I think we need a much simpler, much flatter tax code. Millions of lines, and when we sign a tax return for a year, whether it's for an individual or for the corporation, it's just a 100-page document with tabs and stickies everywhere with deductions for this and everything else. It needs to be simpler, much flatter, and clearly we got to quit spending more than we bring in.
All right, let me pose this to you because I am of the mind, and I think I'm on sound economic ground when I say this, that taxes on corporations are taxes on the goods and services that they provide. In other words, it's the final end consumer who ends up paying them, not really the corporation, although it does come out of the corporation's bottom line. All you're going to do is adjust the price of your goods or services to cover the taxes that they take from you each and every year. Am I accurate on that, Warren?
Yeah, that's what we're living every day, and there has to be a pass through on taxes. It's embedded in everything we're paying. I'd love to see the fair tax. That would be a big change, but I think progress is great. Simpler, flatter, quit spending more. I think the balanced budget amendment would be a good thing towards that. But a lot of countries have a much simpler tax code for corporations especially, and it's driving foreign direct investment out of our country. If we want to see our country grow, we really have got to make this the best place in the world to do business.
Well, I've got a theory on that. It's that the left, is not interested in seeing our country grow. We are too big. We consume too much. We make too much money already, which is one of the reasons why the corporate tax rate is so high. My suspicion is it's part about filling the government coffers, although, again, it ends up hurting more the middle class and the average Joe citizen than anything else. But part based on political theory to drive some of these businesses overseas and to get them to invest in developing nations, which under the left theory need infrastructure and investment in business.
Yeah, and that's part of the theory behind NAFTA, for example. Yeah. And we've created a ton of jobs, particularly in the automotive industry in Mexico. And so, in theory, this economic interdependence, then there's less need for people to migrate to the United States, but it really hasn't changed it because we haven't changed our policies.
Isn't that true? And I'll tell you what, before we dive on into immigration and some of the other topics I want to talk with you, my guest today, Warren Davidson, running for John Boehner's seat. Rather large field. I want to touch upon that as well. So stick around, Warren Davidson. We'll continue after this quick word for Loan One Mortgage. It's 7:19 at 55 KRCD Talk Station. And a happy Friday to you. Yeah, we've got another candidate coming up. 7:40. Jim Lewis is going to be joining us to talk about, a retort to Brad Wenstrup's comments the other day. In the meantime, someone who, along with quite a few others, running for John Boehner's seat for U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson. You can find him online and learn more about Warren at davidsonforcongress.com. That's his website. Warren, the immigration thing, it kind of has thrown a lot of people in a sort of cognitive dissonance. Being a little L libertarian in mindset, libertarians tend to believe in open borders, but I temper that with two things. One, unlike my ancestors, immigrating from Ireland and in England, my mom's side, my dad's side, no one had a welfare state to hook themselves up to, and it wasn't a concern. You came here and you worked, or you left or starved. I'm not sure what happened, but it wasn't something that was going to overwhelm the system. So there was one change in history that now immigrants, illegal or otherwise, are entitled to all kinds of largesse and benefits, education, food stamps, and whatever the litany is. It cost the American taxpayer money now, whereas historically it did not. So that's one thing. But the other component, and this is what I really want to touch on, Warren, security. We know from where the evil terrorists, people who want to kill us, come from. And every terrorist attack over the past, decade or so, 99.9% of them have been Islamic fundamentalist terrorists. They do not like us. They don't believe in our system or our way of life. They believe in Sharia law, of course. And a lot of the tenets and principles embodied in our Constitution, I think, fly in the face of their religious tenets. So with all that said, they do represent a security interest. The problem is you can't, like Donald Trump, paint with a broad brush and just say, no Muslims, period. That flies a bit in the face of our American principles. So with all that background, Warren Davidson, where are you on this immigration dilemma we find ourselves in?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, first, our Constitution applies to everyone. Religious liberty is incredibly important, and that is under attack for other reasons domestically, and it's very important that we protect that for everyone. It's a thing for citizens, but it is part of our values and things that we want to see around the world. It is important to recognize that a lot of these people that are genuine refugees. These people are victims of horrible evil. And it's important to know that the United States is a compassionate country. We send billions of dollars of aid to countries around the world because we really care about people like this. And we send it to the neighbors of those hurt by ISIS right now. So we should really be working with them to expect them to show compassion to their neighbors. We've shown a lot. We've given billions to them for years. And they should provide the sanctuary for them. And we should secure our own borders.
Secure our own borders. And I've heard a lot of talk about creating a safe zone, and this has been done, I believe even in the invasion, was it the rape of Nanking? They had a safe zone there that provided protection for women and children for a very long time from the occupying forces. So it is possible through international cooperation, and here's where I have a big question mark looming over my head as to what the hell the purpose of the UN is. It seems to me a logical and reasonable response for the UN and a coalition of nations that already exist to create an area where these refugees can find some comfort, safety, perhaps some food and shelter there, as opposed to spreading them all over the world.
Yeah, and that's why their closest neighbors are pretty like-minded. They're not, not like-minded with ISIS. There's a legitimate war going on there, and there's a lot of factions in the Middle East that are fighting. I think we should largely stay out of their way and let them fight each other, but we can't do that in a way that ignores the problem. And for Europe in particular, it does seem that if Europe is going to have migrants that can just walk there or move there, that they would have an interest in. It does seem like a way where there could be a lot of international cooperation to see people stay closest to the region as possible. And that's my point, is we've given a lot of aid to some of these people that are very close to the victims there. And then you could maybe use that to build the coalition that really is not just the United States trying to recreate, spend another $4 trillion to wind up with ISIS in control of, more territory. We really need to think strategically, and Congress really needs to continue to hold the administration accountable for fighting and winning our wars, not frittering away previous progress.
Warren Davidson, it's been great talking to you. DavidsonForCongress.com is his website. In the remaining minute, I'll give you an opportunity to let my listeners know how you differentiate yourself from the rather large pack and why they should vote for you, Warren. Other than what you've said already, of course.
Right. Thanks, Brian. I'm not looking for a career change. I'm looking for a change in Washington. I've been focused on growing companies, and I really love that. But I really love this country. I'm very passionate about seeing these things done. I'm sure everyone's going to say a lot of the same things, but it really comes down to who's really going to fight for these things and really be a forceful voice for seeing some of the things delivered upon. A lot of people have gone out, said they want to change Washington. I know there's a path to doing that, and it's also very important to get results for this district. And I would represent the entire district with the same passion. So I hope I have the opportunity to earn everyone's vote.
Warren Davidson, good to talk with you. I think obviously your business, the business record you have stands on its own. Of course, your service to our country, I think, is a great illustration of your commitment to our country. And I wish you the best of luck. It's going to be an interesting race, and I look forward to having you on the program again, sir.
Thank you, Brian.
Take care of yourself. 725, 55 KRC, the talk station. Don't go away. We got some local stories coming up. Also, Jim Lewis running against Brad Wenstrup wants to take away his seat. The incumbent seat in the primary. We've had Jim Lewis on the program before. He asked for equal time. Since Brad was on the other day, I can see this back and forth going on for the rest of the year. Rand Paul at 8:30. We'll get him as well, at least until March. Well, valid point, Joe. I appreciate you correcting me on that. First word for Rush Limbaugh. Democrats are upset about immigration raids. Yeah, they are, aren't they? Going to be a good take from Rush on this, I'm certain, though. So just a second.